So good morning to everyone. I'm Jennifer Conhay, Director of the Forest Management Division at the International Tropical Timber Organization. And on behalf of the main organizers of today's event, the UN Food and Agricultural Organization, the Government of Japan, and the International Tropical Timber Organization, we warmly welcome you to the Sustainable Forest Bioeconomy Day at the SDG Pavilion. Is the video ready? We're running through a little bit technical difficulties this morning. Okay, thank you. So today we have an array of expert speakers from international organizations, the private sector, and government representatives who will discuss different aspects of the sustainable forest bioeconomy and how it is key to achieving climate mitigation and adaptation, as well as biodiversity and sustainable development goals. Today's first session, it's broken out into 3 sessions today, and today's first session will focus on countries' progress and importance of forest data transparency. The second session will focus on the implementation of sustainable wood-based pathways for climate action. And the third session will focus on the opportunities and challenges for leveraging partnerships and financing to enable and scale forest product value chains. We have a very full agenda today, and we hope that you stay with us throughout the day. So without further ado, I would like to introduce Mr. Zhimin Wu, Chair of the Collaborative Partnership on Forest and Director of FAO's Forestry Division, who will deliver some opening remarks virtually.
Ladies and gentlemen, a very warm welcome to you all. I'm privileged to address you today in my capacity as Chair of the Collaborative Partnership on Forest, the CPF, and Director of the Forestry Division of the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations. The theme today at the Forest Pavilion is Sustainable Forest-Based Bioeconomy for Climate Change Mitigation and Adaptation. It is co-organized by FAO, the Government of Japan, and the International Tropical Timber Organization, ITTO. Forests are key to achieving global forest goals, the Paris Agreement and 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. Halting and reversing deforestation will help us mitigate and adapt to climate change, and so too will the development of sustainable forest bioeconomy. Forests provide renewable materials such as wood and non-wood products, bioenergy, and fibers. This can substitute for fossil-based materials and help decarbonize industries. For many, forests provide the basis of livelihoods, green jobs, and food security, contributing more than $1.52 trillion to world gross domestic product and employing 33 million people worldwide. Forests are essential for reducing the vulnerability and increasing the resilience and adaptability of many millions of people living in or near forests. Nevertheless, forests are under pressure from climate-related stresses and global demand for land and materials. This is why we need to develop a sustainable forest-based bioeconomy that balances economic development, social equity, and environmental conservation. Unlocking the full bioeconomy potential of forests requires strong collaboration among all stakeholders. It also needs enabling policies, the production of high-quality, transparent forest data and monitoring, the scaling up of forest sector innovation globally, such as in Ghana, where new partnerships and technologies are being harnessed to reduce commodity-driven forest loss, and in Vietnam, where new mechanisms are developing collateral-free microfinance to smallholder businesses, the development of capacity to advance sustainable bioeconomy practices, and investment in forest-based bioeconomy at the national, regional, and global levels. Today's series of discussions will explore how, under the umbrella of CPF, partners are working with countries to enhance forest data transparency, promote the increased use of sustainable wood for developing low-carbon economies, and identify new and innovative opportunities for strengthening financing and investment in sustainable forest-based value chains. I thank all partners and organizers for providing this platform as part of efforts to increase the role of forest in the bioeconomy. I wish you a successful day of discussion and collaboration. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wu. And now I invite to the podium the Vice Minister for Global Environmental Affairs from the Ministry of Environment in Japan, Mr. Yutaka Matsuzawa. Please.
Good morning. Thank you very, very much for giving me this opportunity. I'm not forest man, forest person, but personally I have a very close relationship with our forest agency and the Ministry of Agriculture, Forest and Fishery, and Japan happily has a ITTO at Yokohama, and recently we have a very close relationship with ITTO in terms of forest sustainable management toward climate mitigation, adaptation, and sustainable development. We are really honored to hold this seminar at the Forest Pavilion, which has been established for the first time at the UNFCCC COP, first time, through the excellent leadership of the United Nations Forum on Forest, UNFF, and cooperation with related countries and organizations. We extend our gratitude to Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, FAO, and the International Tropical Timber Organization, ITTO, for leading this seminar, as well as UNFF and all other participants for their efforts. We believe that the continuous use of wood as a renewable resource produced through sustainable forest management significantly contributes to reducing carbon dioxide emissions and achieving a circular economy, forming the core of the forest bioeconomy. Sustainable management forests. Sustainably managed forests, absorb carbon dioxide and store carbon during their growth. Additionally, using wood in buildings and other structure can enable cities to function as large carbon sink and replace fossil fuels through energy use. Furthermore, wood consumes less energy during manufacturing and processing compared to other building materials. By using wood instead of more greenhouse gas intensive materials, we can also reduce the embodied carbon of buildings. These aspects heighten expectation for the environmental impact reduction of wooden buildings. The theme of this seminar, the sustainable forest-based bioeconomy, holds various possibilities. We anticipate broad discussions from nature, positive economy, climate and biodiversity nexus, nature-based solutions, circular economy, to climate-smart forest management, which address climate change, biodiversity, contributions to local communities, and sustainable development. We hope that This seminar, as well as the newly established Forest Pavilion at the UNFCCC COP, will promote fruitful discussions on the potential of the forest-based bioeconomy and foster new developments and synergies among forest, biodiversity, and climate change stakeholders. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Vice Minister, for your time and your opening remarks. And our last speaker for the opening session is Ms. Shamsat Koru, who is the Executive Director of ITTO, and we'll hear a virtually recorded message from her.
It gives me great pleasure to welcome all the honorable dignitaries and participants of this first edition of the Forest Pavilion. It gives me great pleasure to welcome all the honorable dignitaries and participants of this first edition of the Forest Pavilion at the United Nations Climate Change Conference. The Forest Pavilion is a collective effort that has come to fruition after some years of groundwork within members of the Collaborative Partnership on Forests, many of them who are present here in person. The aim of the Forest Pavilion is to provide an accessible platform within the climate change negotiations to inform decision makers on the centrality of forests as nature-based solutions to climate regulation, mitigation, and adaptation. To steer action among stakeholders with a common agenda, and to provide opportunities for cross-sectoral dialogue. It is my hope to see many more editions of the Forest Pavilion at future conferences of the parties. Distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, the International Tropical Timber Organization, the ITTO, is delighted to be a co-sponsor of the Forest Pavilion, along with the Food and Agricultural Organization of the United Nations, the Ministry of Agriculture, Forestry and Fisheries of Japan, and members of the Collaborative Partnership on Forests. We all share a common vision that must be effectively advocated, which hopefully goes viral. That would depend on you. The sustainable management and use of forest resources to fight climate change and transform our economies while ensuring the conservation of biodiversity. The public misconception that forest harvesting equals deforestation is not true. While the forest sector understands that this is not true, it is our duty to better communicate the multiple benefits of sustainable forest management and the environmental credentials of timber to the outside world. Sustainable harvesting, ladies and gentlemen, is not deforestation. Sustainable forest management is actually much more than just sustainable timber harvesting. It covers a diverse range of values, from biodiversity conservation, climate benefits, landscape restoration, to the livelihoods and well-being of forest-dependent communities. When sustainable and legal timber supply chains are added to the equation, end consumers are linked to forests across the globe and to the people who live within. In other words, it creates a circular bioeconomy where markets, through sustainable use, become a driver for forest conservation. It is widely recognized that forests are valuable carbon sinks, essential to achieve climate goals and planetary well-being. However, greater investments in sustainable forest management are urgently needed to materialize this vision. Investments in sustainable forest management are climate-smart investments that will pay multiple benefits in the medium to long term. Timber itself is one of the most environmentally friendly materials. Further investments will encourage and expand its applications for a variety of innovative uses, especially for low-carbon construction. Markets require robust, verifiable information on the legality and sustainability of wood products procured. Investments in these frameworks are needed within timber producer countries to facilitate such data at reasonable cost. I am delighted to see that the program for today will underscore the importance of forest monitoring and data transparency for the implementation of the Paris Agreement. They will showcase the sustainable use of wood as a viable substitution option that will contribute to achieving carbon neutrality and explore innovative investment mechanisms and leverage partnerships for building circular bioeconomies that will facilitate the transition to carbon neutral economies. Distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, humankind is at a crossroad in the fight against climate change, where 2024 is set to beat the 1.5-degree target. We have witnessed the atrocities and suffering caused by its effects, from stronger wildfires to catastrophic flooding and the regrettable loss of human lives. It is imperative that we transform our economies and our ways of life. Sustainable bioeconomies offer us a viable path forward. Let's make full use of the Forest Pavilion at COP29, ladies and gentlemen, to accelerate climate-smart actions and realize the full potential that forests offer as effective and efficient nature-based solutions. Wishing all of you a successful session and participation at the COP29. Thank you.
So thank you to all the distinguished speakers of today's opening session. We will now move into the first thematic session of today's agenda, which is focused on forest data transparency, supporting the implementation of the Paris Agreement and the development of a sustainable forest-based bioeconomy. So we request and thank the audience for your patience as we connect virtual speakers and also invite the speakers of today's first session to the stage. Okay, just a few minutes as we transition. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Amy Duchel. I'm a senior forestry officer and team leader of forest and climate at FAO, and very proud to have co-organized this day of the pavilion with ITTO and the government of Japan. This COP has been called the Finance COP, but it's also been called the Transparency COP. And that's because countries are submitting their biennial transparency reports, which show how they have been progressing on their national climate goals. And so we really wanted to highlight today how this focus on transparency and transparent monitoring can actually support a sustainable forest-based bioeconomy. I'm really pleased that we have one of the real experts on this, and he's taking his time. Mr. Dirk Nemetz is the team lead of AFALU from the UNFCCC Secretariat, one of the busier people these weeks, and so he's able to be with us today. And he's really been one of the proponents of supporting countries in their national forest monitoring systems and their reporting to be able to achieve their climate goals. And so Dirk is going to give us an opening framing presentation on where we are in terms of transparency with forest data, what it means for meeting our climate goals, and how it connects to the bioeconomy. So Dirk, over to you. And I think you could probably use the podium if you wish. Yeah.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. I hope you can hear me. Yes. Very good. Thank you very much for inviting me to this event and to speak about my favorite topic, how transparency and forest data is important for reaching our Paris Agreement targets and how this whole thing works. It's complicated, but I hope I can walk you through a little bit. Where is that? Oh. Okay. Okay. Maybe while you can't see the slides, there's one thing I was trying to say. I hear in so many areas that people are concerned or are angry that the Paris Agreement is not working and the whole thing is now 9 years old and it's not working. But actually it couldn't work because we only start now. The first reports are coming in this year, and maybe that's where we don't go to the next slide. Now, we'll go to the next slide and see. The idea is that we report every 2 years on the whole forest of economy or the whole of economy emissions and removals, and then every 5 years parties take this data in the global stocktake and collectively think about what do we need to do better to reach our mitigation targets and to reach our NDC targets. And really, while we have NDCs for some time and countries started to think about NDCs, and we're now in the third iteration basically of NDCs coming in February next year, this December is the first time we have a deadline for a biennial transparency report. So this time is the first time that reports are actually coming in for the enhanced transparency framework, and countries get a feedback of where they need to improve so that we know more about it. Maybe a quick word about the transition. In the past, we had different reports for Annex 1 countries and for non-Annex 1 countries, the distinction we had in the convention. Under the Paris Agreement, all parties submit basically the same reports. The biennial transparency reports, which is including the national greenhouse gas inventory, including the LULUCF sector, land use change and forestry, and their national communications with more detailed ideas of how to implement policies and measures, what are the projections for the countries, etc. There's a small specialty. Annex 1 countries have to send at least a greenhouse gas inventory every year, so not every 2 years, but that's only for developed countries. And voluntarily, the developing countries may implement and submit REDD+ reports. The REDD+, we'll come to the REDD+ in detail later. What is a biannual transparency report actually? One is a textual report. We really want the countries, or other countries want the countries to explain what they're doing, what is the data telling them, what is the storyline, what is the narrative, what is happening. Then there's common reporting tables. That's your greenhouse gas inventory that's showing all the data of what has been happening since your base year. For most countries, it will be from 1990, a consistent time series of where did your emissions go, where did your removals go as well. And then common tabular formats, that's a new thing where you track your targets of your NDC with your own chosen indicators. For most developed countries, that will be the greenhouse gas inventory. But many developed countries are not having such a sophisticated greenhouse gas inventory yet. They still need time and capacity building to build it up. And they choose indicators that they think tracks their mitigation targets well. Which, of course, makes the reporting and review slightly more complex than what we used to have under the convention only, and even under the Kyoto Protocol. Coming back to REDD+, REDD+ is firmly enshrined in Article 5 of the Paris Agreement. So it's a building block of how we reach our targets. And there's a forest reference level or forest reference emission level that the country can submit regularly whenever there's an update and can use them for some time. Often it is suggested that this should be valid like 5 to 8 years. So you could use it for 2, 3, maybe 4 BTR reviews. And this is the baseline for where the emissions and removals stand, against which your performance is measured. And it's a completely separate process from the BTRs. And countries can send it once a year, and once a year there's a review or technical assessment in the UNFCCC. And then the REDD Plus results come as a technical annex to the BTR report, and they will then be in technical analysis concurrently with a review of the biannual transparency report. And maybe one word on the review. The reviews now, the first review should be in country, so we will select experts from the roster of experts, 5, 7, 8 experts, depending on the scope of the BTR report, and take them for 1 week into the country, so the ministry that's responsible, and talk to the experts and talk about what is the capacity building needs, where are improvement areas for the BTR, and what are the next steps for the country, and then write a report on that. And the REDD Plus team, looking at the REDD Plus results, will go into the country as well, together with this team doing the BTR review. And I can speak a bit from experience because I had the second BTR review actually in October in Guyana, which was an amazing experience. And I can only recommend anyone of you who has the opportunity to do a review as a reviewer, do it. It's teaching you a lot. It's an amazing experience to get to know how things work in different countries, how the institutions work, how everything is set up. And it was actually the first country with a REDD Plus technical annex, so we really were deep into the forest data in that review as well. Coming to the forest data, LULUCF is an integral sector of the greenhouse gas inventory. All countries shall report estimates of emissions and removals, anthropogenic emissions and removals, for all categories, which includes the LULUCF sector, for all gases and carbon pools, using the common reporting tables, and here's an example. And also on harvested wood products, which will be, I think, a challenge for many developing countries, and there's a lot needed to get into that. There's often discussion on the harvested wood products, but I think the core idea is to provide incentives to store carbon also in that area. So usage of that pool is complicated, but it's really encouraged now under the Paris Agreement. Now I'm realizing, where are we? Okay. One more point on REDD Plus. REDD Plus is often seen as reducing emissions from deforestation. Some people also know it's about forest degradation. Very few people realize that this has 5 activities and includes the conservation of forest carbon stocks as an activity, the sustainable management of forests as an activity, and the enhancement of forest carbon stocks also as a separate activity. Enhancement, it's all a bit a question of what is meant by this, but in most cases, countries define the activities themselves. For some, the enhancement of forest carbon stocks means the enhancement of stocks in forests, so restoration of forests. Others see this more as an afforestation, reforestation activity, so turning non-forest land into forest, which then of course should also be, and that's one of the big pluses in REDD Plus, be reflected in the greenhouse gas inventory. So things that are done in REDD Plus should have their reflection also in the greenhouse gas inventory. And this is a big opportunity for countries to have everything consistently. And we've seen over the years that countries that engaged in REDD Plus early on, they really have a much more advanced and much better LULUCF sector in their greenhouse gas inventory as well. There's a reporting tool now. Most countries know, the national focal points are informed, that is not necessarily mandatory to use, but is highly encouraged to use because it feeds your data directly into the data pool of the UNFCCC. It uses the right tables, there are checks in there, and it can also be linked to the IPCC inventory software tool that many countries are already using. And we're offering clinics. There were some clinics here at COP29, and we're also offering clinics in the regions to make sure that countries are able to submit their data, including the forest data, for the BTR review. You have to check more that things are moving. One more thing, we had some variation in how much REDD Plus was reported in the biennial update reports in the past, and also in terms of reference levels, how many we got. And much of this in our depends on the unique nature of REDD Plus, that it's linked to incentives directly, which is a bit different from the other reporting in the BTR. ideally, UNDC and UBTR is a combination for developing countries which helps them to unlock funding to implement mitigation activities that have high potential and that needs to be implemented. But it's more indirect than the idea of REDD+, where results, once reported, should be eligible for results-based finance. And when there was a pilot in the GCF that directly linked to reporting and review under UNFCCC, there was a peak in submissions because many countries saw that as an opportunity. We had a break in that. There was not that much available directly. But there were two strong signals from October where we get basically signals that we can expect more submissions of REDD+ again coming in 2025 and beyond. The first one was the GCF boards accepted or adopted a permanent policy on REDD+ results-based finance. So there's no end date to this. And even countries that are not yet ready, they have an incentive to invest in readiness. There's a possibility to get finance from the GCF also for readiness. And it's fully aligned with all the UNFCCC reporting. So it's not a separate stream. It builds upon the UNFCCC reporting directly. The second signal, which was only finally adopted here at the COP in the first day, was the 6.4 supervisory body standard, where it basically says that if there are activities, projects with activities that fall under the REDD+ in Article 5.2, these must link to the national reporting as well. I think this was the compromise between not allowing any project and only going into jurisdictional and high level and national level, and on the other hand allowing them but making sure they are somehow nested. We're not doing double counting between the different scales and having everything aligned. We have to see how this plays out when 6.4 becomes operational, but that's the basic idea. There are a few areas where reporting on forest goes beyond the normal greenhouse gas inventory as defined by the IPCC. The harvested wood products I already mentioned. Countries really have to be transparent on how they deal with that. Natural disturbances as well. They have to clarify whether they exclude some of the emissions based on natural disturbances. Age class classification for countries that have a very specific age class classification. And a challenge is, of course, that the data ideally should be available in a consistent manner since 1990, which many countries don't really have. Coming to a quick conclusion, because I see the 1-minute sign here. Forest data reporting enables countries to build a stronger evidence base to identify needs and set priorities on how to strengthen the forest-related climate policies over time, and also the implementation, of course, of REDD+, but also of other forest sector mitigation in developed countries, which is a very important area, and forest conservation and linking it also with other conventions and other targets. It sends a very clear signal to donors and investors about the scale of opportunity as well as the scale of the needs. And we think that, or also in our experience, when we have experts from some countries doing the review of other countries, the clear and honest forest data reporting and the review process strengthen the trust between countries and among stakeholders, and you start to understand why the data is incomplete, because you talk to the country and you realize there are real challenges and there's no cheating going on, and that is really a big trust-building exercise that we, I think, need in this process. Thank you very much, and back to you, Amy.
Thank you so much, Dirk. And, this stuff is not easy, and we're going to be hearing from 3 of the countries who are really the stars, but that's after the next presentation. And the next presentation, I'd really like to warmly welcome my colleague from Rome. It's early there, Rocio Condor. She's a forestry officer in FAO's forestry division, and she leads the transparency work and really helps countries through capacity building around the enhanced transparency framework. And FAO has several of these capacity building programs in the AFLU sector more broadly, and then also one specific for forestry. So Rocio, over to you to tell us a bit about the capacity building efforts that have gone into helping get countries where they are today.
Thank you very much, Amy. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Amy? Can you hear me, Amy? Perfect. Thank you very much, Amy. And let me start by saying that the enhanced transparency framework under the Paris Agreement is crucial for ensuring transparent reporting on national commitments to climate change. 2024 is a key year for climate transparency, and I'm super happy today to highlight the importance of capacity development for forest data transparency, the support that the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations is providing in this regard. Let me first underscore that building capacities on forest data transparency is essential to foster stakeholder engagement, climate action, investment, research and innovation, effective policy, and international collaboration for the following reasons. For stakeholder engagement, transparent forest data empowers governments, academia, NGOs, the private sector, local communities, and international organizations to participate in decision-making and protect their interests. Climate action. Accessible forest data will support climate change mitigation and adaptation efforts. Attracting investment. Transparency attracts sustainable investors, stimulating economic growth in forest-dependent regions. Research and innovation advancement. Open data fosters scientific innovation in ecology and biodiversity conservation. Effective policy. Transparent forest data enhance policymaking by ensuring that decisions are evidence-based and targeted for maximum impact. International collaboration. Transparency promotes global cooperation on issues like forest management and biodiversity conservation. To boost transparency and drive effective climate action, FAO and the Global Environment Facility has been collaborating since 2019 on the Building Global Capacity to Increase Transparency in the Forest Sector project, referred to as CBIT Forest. Building on the successes of the first phase of CBIT Forest, we are currently implementing the second phase. This new phase has been designed to accelerate capacity building, knowledge sharing, and awareness raising globally, with the aim of enhancing the quality, timeless, accessibility, and usability of forest-related data in line with enhanced transparency framework requirements of the Paris Agreement. The relevance, effectiveness, efficiency, impact, and sustainability of this project are enhanced by building on the ongoing forest monitoring work from the Global Forest Resources Assessment and the Forest Monitoring and Data Platforms teams from FAO's Forestry Division, and existing global networks, including the 236 countries and territories associated with the Global Forest Resources Assessment National Correspondent Network. CBIT Forest is connecting the dots to ensure that high-quality knowledge and expertise is available and accessible to all. Project activities are working at the global, regional, and national levels. At the global level, we work with open data dissemination platforms and virtual knowledge. We will facilitate access to the best available forest resources data through FAO's Global Forest Resources Assessment Platform and support the transition towards flexible reporting with countries that are interested in sharing forest data more frequently. We continue to populate the Food and Agriculture Microdata Catalog with forest inventory data so that forest data can be accessible to all. Furthermore, we will continue to enhance the technical capacity of forest and climate stakeholders on available platforms, resources, and tools for forest-related data collection and analysis. Recently, we have delivered the National Forest Inventory online facilitated course in multiple languages. In this course, we explore the essentials of effective national forest inventory implementation, from planning to reporting. More than 2,500 participants registered from 140 countries, and 764 individuals have already obtained their digital badge certification. At the regional level, we will connect forest actors, thus cementing national forest inventory networks to improve forest data quality, sharing, and transparency. Networking enables the implementation of peer review processes and collaborative platforms for feedback and improvement. We are currently supporting Latin America and the Caribbean National Forest Inventory Network. It is in this region that our flagship publication has been crucial in driving the region's progress toward more transparent and comparable forest data. In 2025, we will facilitate a new network in Asia. At the national level, we are working hand in hand with targeted countries' interested to work towards open and transparent data. Dedicated support continues to be provided. We recognize the hurdles many countries face institutional and technical challenges in collecting and sharing comprehensive, reliable, and timely forest-related data. Our goal is to turn these challenges into opportunities for innovation and collaboration. Communication and knowledge sharing is a key element of the project to raise awareness of the importance of data collection, analysis, and dissemination for transparency in the forestry sector. Therefore, today I'm excited to launch a new publication, Pathways to Forest Data Transparency, Best Practices from National Forest Monitoring to Support Climate Action. This publication provides essential insight for enhancing transparency in forest data, featuring successful examples from Africa, Asia Pacific, and Latin America, the Caribbean. It empowers countries to develop robust national forest monitoring systems that drive climate reporting and inform effective policy. This guide showcases innovative approaches that demonstrate how national forest monitoring systems can be tailored to diverse needs while aligning with global standards. This resource equips policymakers, researchers, and forest managers with actionable strategies to enhance national forest monitoring systems, support sustainable development, and promote effective climate solutions. Thank you for your attention. Please be sure to check our website, currently live in multiple languages, as well as our e-learning series, Forest Monitoring for Climate Action, also available in multiple languages. Thank you very much for your attention, and back to you, Amy.
Rocio, I hope you can hear everybody clapping. That was excellent. Thank you. And congratulations on the publication. I have some of the cards here for that too. So if anybody didn't get the screenshot, please approach me afterwards. So I would now like to call onto the stage some of our distinguished speakers here from the countries themselves. And let me just get this up here. First of all, from Guyana, we have Vanessa Ben, Lead Stakeholder Engagement Coordinator from the Office of the President from Guyana. We also have Pak Erik Premiantoro, the Director of Inventory and Monitoring of Forest Resources of Indonesia, who will be joining us online. And we have Mr. Thomas Giambra, the Manager of MRV and Programs of the Forestry Commission of Ghana. And Pak Erik should be appearing online, so we may, Thomas, want to move a little bit to the left here, just in case. So we should be able to see him soon. As I said earlier, these are some of the stars here. And so we're really lucky, and this is not hard. This is not easy. This is extremely complex work. And Vanessa, I'd like to congratulate Guyana in submitting the very first BTR earlier this year and going through the subsequent technical assessment process. And so you're the belle of the ball here at the Transparency Cup. Everybody's wanting to learn from Guyana. And so, Vanessa, if you could just tell us a bit, what were some of the main achievements, challenges, and learnings that arose during this process that others, can help inform others?
Thank you, Amy. Good morning. Can everyone hear me?
Yeah.
Hearing myself. So thank you, first of all, to the FAO and ITTO and the government of Japan for organizing this event and for inviting Guyana to participate. Just to give you a very quick background to our country, we are on the northern aspect of South America. Our country is over 85% forested. Our forests store about 19.5 gigatons of carbon dioxide and remove 154 million tons of carbon dioxide as well annually. So for us, as we speak about deforestation and REDD+, 99% of our forest remains intact with less than 1% rate of deforestation. Learning for us, one of the achievements, I think, perhaps I'd like to start with, is that we were able to submit the BTR. Sometimes we take some of these things for granted, but it was a collective, a team effort, and it was a good learning for us. So I think that's one of the things I'd like to say, and it gives us the opportunity to share some of those experiences with other countries that are going through the process. So with regard to the challenges, perhaps, and I've been saying that we don't necessarily see them as challenges, but as opportunity. In our country, we have been good in the aspect of doing our monitoring, reporting, and verification. We have a system that has grown, and we have probably now about the 13th iteration of our annual reporting as we manage and as we monitor and report on LUL UCF. But at the same time, that reporting and the capacity within the sectors of forestry and energy, as the team may have observed, is fairly high. The challenge/opportunity we have is how do we bring that capacity up in the other sectors for which we have to report on, and indeed to continually improve those areas of reporting and capacity. So, and also with regard to learning, we have been able to ensure that we are, to the best of our ability, report on our country's performance, meeting what is the UNFCCC requirements for the BTR and other reports that we have been required to submit, to make the connections with our NDC, and also to improve on our MRV reporting. For us, the connection with our requirements to meet the UNFCCC reporting, the BTR, etc., and also linking that to our national overall strategy, the low carbon development strategy, has been important, and ensuring the various reports and programs and initiatives that we have meet those needs is what is one of the lessons that we've learned, and one of the highlights of the needs that we have with regard to building capacity.
Thank you so much, Vanessa. And Pak Erik, nice to see you again. We see you perfectly. We were together here last week, so thank you for joining again. Pak Erik, as many of us know, Indonesia has a really ambitious national climate plan, the FOLU Net Sink by 2030, and that's really quite inspiring in terms of reducing emissions from the land sector. And we'd like to hear from you about how enhanced transparency and reporting on forest data, through the implementation of the Paris Agreement, has supported the implementation of that national plan. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Amy. Can you hear me? For that?
Yes, we hear you.
Okay. Like Ibu Emi said, yeah, Indonesia has developed the emission polymatching. Is the policy innovation in order to reduce the forest degradation, forest degradation, also to enhance the sustainable forest management, and also the peatland and mangrove protection and restoration. Also to in order to improve the enhancement of the carbon sequestration itself. In implementation of the emission polymatching, we have developed the geospatial information data also, and we developed the data information based on based on the 9 strategic pathway of the UN AGIP integrated geospatial information. The data consists of first the operational plan and work plan geospatial information system, yeah, about the polymatching that consists at least 12 types of the operational plan. And then we also try to develop the implementation plan of this cluster implementation system, since the municipal system right now is already in ongoing progress, ongoing process. There's some project that we funded by the international and also the national budget or regional budget. We also try to develop the implementation of this cluster implementation system. And then we try to, in order to monitor and evaluate the performance of the implementation, we try to develop also the geospatial information about the monitoring system. And in doing so, we have the national forest monitoring system, measures forest inventory also, that is developed based on the TRCC principle. And also we have already managed the geospatial data information on forest that is already on the system that is ready, can be accessed to the website. That's why we try to develop the geospatial information, and based on the information, we hope all the geospatial can be used at the national and the subnational level also. I think this address the transparency reporting on forest data and polymatching? I think I give to Ibu Ami.
Pak Eric, thank you so much for that. And indeed, Indonesia is also at the forefront of monitoring and reporting. I'd like to now turn over to my old friend here. So it's nice to see. And in fact, this is a panel of old friends, so it's very nice to all be together. In March this year, from Ghana's perspective, in March this year, Ghana submitted its 4th biennial update report. If you could talk a bit about the results of that reporting process, sort of where you are now in terms of reporting and how that's supporting the forest and climate policy in Ghana. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Amy, for this invitation. I'm so sorry about my voice. When I woke up this morning, my voice is almost gone, even up and down. So sorry about that. And just to congratulate Guyana for the submission of the BTR. Ghana hopes to submit by end of month. We have a team back home who are currently working on the report. So Dek, we'll be seeing you soon in that regard. Having said that, we submitted, yes, our biannual update report, and just to not to bore you with some few figures here, then I'll try and link it to from the policy perspective. We have our total emissions 51% coming from the energy sector. The AFOLO we have 23%, industry 3.2, waste 7.3. But to limit or zoning it to the harvested wood products, where normally we talk about wood products that have been burnt for energy. That's where the policy link for us, from our perspective, is key, especially for the forest sector. During the red period, we've been advocating the need to get sustainable wood fuel sources, and the fact that the more we cut trees rampantly, and it will not be sustainable enough. So what we've done over the period is that we've come up with the group that would normally be burning or cutting wood for charcoal, and we've tried to educate them. 1, 2, now we provide free tree seedlings for them to plant, so that they have that sustainable source. And we are doing that. I think, Ayana, the relationship between the institutions, we have the Energy Commission here and the Forestry Commission here, if you don't have a sustainable source of wood fuel, you wouldn't get a license to now do it. So that's you get a license from the Forestry Commission, and before the Energy Commission can give you such a permit. So these are things from the policy perspective that we are doing. That's in line also with our national forest plantation strategy that indicates the amount of wood fuel that's supposed to be established annually and how we can bring the communities on board. So in this sense, you are looking at the key institutions collaborating, the communities, the people in the value chain coming on board as well. But this continues to be work in progress, and this can be seen from the energy perspective. The wood fuel that contributes to the HWP, we are now getting minus 0.52 million tons of CO2 equivalent, and it indicates that this is really working. We will continue to do that. The day you stop doing good, that's when bad will prevail. So that's something that we intend to continue doing. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much, Thomas. I'd like to turn over back to Vanessa. And, you know, it was announced at the beginning of last week that Guyana will serve as the next co-chair of the Forest and Climate Leaders Partnership, which is, as most of us here know, is really the high-level forum of a coalition of countries trying to move forward the Glasgow Leaders Declaration on Forest and Land Use. And this is a visible role, and it's a way to, in fact, garner political will around certain issues. Do you see an opportunity to advance the transparency agenda through Guyana's leadership in the FCLP moving forward?
Yes, we do, Amy. I'm particularly pleased that we have had this opportunity. Seems as if I'm picking up your throat. We're particularly, pleased and fortunate that we've been able to now be a co-host with the United Kingdom. We see it as an opportunity to build on partnerships and with other tropical, countries that have tropical forests, and also in particular to develop common positions. We see it as an opportunity to be able to share experiences and to kind of build on region-wide capacities with regard to improving our ability to report on the monitoring, reporting, and verification systems and other requirements that, as our country is being part of the process, be able to achieve. So for us, primarily to build on those relationships, to share lessons learned, to have a common position. And we see this as a fortuitous opportunity, now being a co-chair of this FCLP, to help us in that regard.
Fantastic, and we look forward to seeing what you'll do in that role. Pak Erik, in the context of the progress that's been made on the Follow Net Sync for 2030, where do you see the opportunities for promoting forest-based bioeconomy, including through this advanced monitoring and forest data?
Can you see my slide?
Oh yeah! Wow. Okay.
Sorry. This is what I explained before, about the, sorry.
Could you put it in full screen mode? So, yeah, there we go. Okay, looks good.
Okay.
Wow.
So this is the explanation we already explained before, how to the data information of what the pollination we focus on the set 9 pathway. It is already engaged, involved with other stakeholders also. And then this is some example of the operational plan of the pollination based on the information. And this can be accessed through the website in SIGAP, in internet database. And this is the Simontana that already know how we can use the Simontana to develop and monitor the instant pollination implementation also. And this is the sum of the information. And also all the geospatial information is we made all the geospatial information on forest in SIGAP, geospatial information system, including the pollination itself. And then this is the SIGAP, And then in terms of the bioeconomy and carbon economy, the pollination in its pollination 2030 can be serve as the co-benefit innovation to achieve not only national climate goal but also to promote the economy. With all the geospatial information, the pollination, geospatial information, Simontana, SIGAP, that developed based on the nine strategic pathway and also the geospatial information infrastructure. We try to enhance the climate action strategies to follow in order to meet the green and blue economy based on the Asta, the vision of the new president. And like in the foreign nesting, we try to promote the view perspective also. And we already set up also the carbon economy based on the principle in order to achieve the sustainability. And by the follow itself, we try to define the creative mechanism, not only based on the national budget and the subnational budget, but also with other business mechanism. We transform from the what we call the cost center to the profit center based on the bioeconomy and carbon economy itself. I think that's all for this time. Back to Ibu.
Okay, yeah, Pak. That was nice to have the visual. So thanks for sharing that. And I think you do nicely make this connection. You know, all of this national forest monitoring system, Simontana, really as the basis for sustainable forest management and this clear link to economy and economic development, but that it's feeding into this. And that's, as Dirk had said at the beginning of the session, you know, the countries that have gone through all of this work are absolutely so far ahead in terms of being able to do integrated land use planning and management and promoting a sustainable bioeconomy. So Thomas, over to you, and then we'll leave a bit of time for questions with the audience. You know, Ghana has made so much progress, and you sort of keep innovating and keep impressing us, including with the access to results-based finance. From an MRV perspective, and you know, what do you see is still needed from the case of Ghana? Where do you see as sort of the next frontier of where you're going?
Thank you very much. I would like to take it from two perspectives. A little bit of the historical perspective, so that the MRV perspective is quite clearer. We joined the FCPF in 2008. We received our first payment in 2023. That's like 15 years after putting in place the key requirements and the Red Plus as they kindly took us through. For us, when you look at the framing of the Forest Carbon Partnership Facility, it's actually a proof of concept that tropical countries can access resource base once they put in the key requirements under Red Plus. So for us, that has been the framing in our minds that could we be part of this proof of concept. So in 2023, when we received the first payment, like it was key for us. But the next thing, and where we believe the success has been, is that for us to transition from the FCPF now to the art trees, which means that we've put in a certain kind of system that is able to respond not just to the FCPF, but to another system, that is the art trees. Very soon, we are looking at the window that the GCF has created and see how we can also access that. But that's just by the way. But from the MRV perspective, it's not been easy. I think we need some few other things so that it could help improve Ghana's robustness of our MRV system. One is we need a new national forest inventory. When you look at the emission factors that we've used, it was a project-based activity that we undertook in 2012, and that's what we've been using for over a long time now. Recently, together with FAO, we have developed a national forest inventory framework document, which we are pitching for support, and we believe that once we're able to operationalize that framework document, Ghana can improve the robustness of our MRV system. One, two, from the activity data perspective, more and more that we need access to high resolution data, which fortunately the Norwegians made access to the planet data, but that's not quite sustainable in the long term. So access to high-res data and the ability to analyze that high-res data, it improves the way we are able to determine the land use classifications in our system, because it's very, very diverse, extremely diverse. And sometimes you have people developing platforms that may not really mimic what's happening in our landscape. So in doing that, I think maybe such platforms should co-create. There should be that co-creation of such platforms so that it mimics perfectly the landscapes that we find ourselves, which is very diverse. So these are things that I would like to put up.
Thanks so much, Thomas, and thank you for highlighting the importance of the National Forest Inventory also, because indeed, I mean, this is a key part of national forest monitoring systems, and we've been talking a lot this morning about mitigation and reducing emissions, but in fact, a multi-purpose NFI can also give a lot more information, included related to biodiversity adaptation and sort of the multiple benefits that forests provide and that are the basis for a bioeconomy as well. So thanks for that. I'd like to open up to the floor. We've got a full house, and we've got a lot of people online. This is being live streamed as well, so I don't think we can take questions from space. But let's start with the room here. Maria, yeah.
Yeah, good morning. I'm Maria Jose Sanz from the Basque Center for Climate Change. I think it's wonderful that all this MRV information is flowing. And I guess my question is, how far now you are seeing that this information is relevant to develop new business models around the forestry commodity chains and relocalizing activities within the country so that it gives jobs and also foresees more sustainable production of harvest wood products to be inserted in this new circular economy and which is emerging everywhere. Do you have experiences on that? Is something that you are going forward or looking forward?
Yeah, thank you, Maria, for that. So to get into the circular economy, that's the point I was talking about from the policy perspective. So that little or no waste we have little or no waste. So the key thing for us is this sustainable source. So if you have the sustainable source and you are utilizing it at this point, you realize that once we get rid of it, there's a way to restore it back into that particular ecosystem. Having said that, and relating it to other commodity supply chain, these days we are looking at the cocoa supply chain, how sustainable the cocoa supply chain could be, for instance. And usually in Ghana, people used to clear fell the forests and now plant their cocoa. Cocoa is like the key foreign exchange earner for the country. But now we've come up with some sustainable ways where you don't clear fell the forest, you introduce tree species in there, and those tree species could serve as means for them getting energy at the end of the day. So these are things that we are incorporating in there so that we take care of this. But going forward, we are trying to tighten some of these knots along the way so that we ensure that circular economy prevails at the end of the day.
Yes, I think that it is really helpful in many ways, in particular, for instance, in Guyana, as we expand in the areas of sustainable agriculture and expanding that. Our country is now a new entrant into the oil and gas economy, but notwithstanding that, there's still primary focus on ensuring there's continued sustainable forest management and ensuring that our agricultural production and our other key economic centers are improved and expanded. So the MRV information and what is coming out of, helping us to continue to move towards attainment of the targets of our NDC are important to help us, one, in terms of policy making and decision making and implementation of projects, but also helping to link the various sectors and industries, as I mentioned, to see the importance of how they manage the information, improve what they currently have, improve their capacity, and help us to ensure that we are indeed meeting the commitments that we have and can report on it.
Pak Erik, I don't know, do you have anything to add to that? We don't hear you.
like I said before, yeah, we try to transform in a simple nesting not only to make the forest green or better in terms of the forest cover and in order to keep the climate change, but it's also to be transformed for the economic purpose, especially green economy and blue economy also. We develop the bioprospecting, just for example, in order to promote the bioeconomy also. And non-forest product, yeah, we work and one of the under the follow operational plan, we also work with the Bamboo Foundation to conduct to develop the bamboo forest. And bamboo is the product can be used for the bamboo bicycle, something like that. And also they improve with the private sector to just reduce the real, yeah, reduce illegal, reduce impact logging, something like that, in order to follow and establish also the timber plantation itself, one of the operational in the polymetric. So it is not only just for the ecological purpose, but also for the social and economic purpose. And also we have the scheme with the social forestry based on the agroforestry. There is some of the business on a small scale based on the agroforestry sector, except in the social forestry itself. Thank you.
Indeed. Thanks, Pak Eric, for connecting all of these other policies in Indonesia, in fact, to the national climate policy as well. Any other questions from the floor? Don't be shy. No. No. Yes? Yes, okay.
Thank you. It's not a question. Yeah, my name is Viola. I serve at Girls for Climate Action from Uganda. And I'm happy to be here this morning, and I thank the panelists. So I do more of forest restoration work in Uganda due to many forests that have been destroyed, basically by industrialization, but also by the improvements and infrastructures that have been established in my country. So my thought is interacting with the local communities where we do restoration and reservations and also preservations of what we've restored. There is a call for not restoring by long-lasting, I don't know how best to explain it, but we do restore with trees that are actually sustainable for the community. For example, the fruit trees. We used to plant more of indigenous trees, and we thought it's the community need, but I've come to live to realize that the community needs actually trees that are hitting very many birds at the same time. So one of the calling is that we restore with fruit trees, and these fruit trees, they can serve as food, but as well as shade, and again as preserving the environment. So it's just a thought that I wanted to share with everyone. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That's nice to hear. Anything else? Oh, yes, okay. Please say who you are too.
So, ladies and gentlemen, morning everybody. I'm Luis from Hebei Province, People's Republic of China. As for the forest and the economy and also the environment, I think it is very important. We used to have the sandy wind, especially in the early winter. So Chinese people started to grow a lot of trees as the prevention belt to prevent the dirt from the sand from blowing from the land to the inner land, something like that. But actually, sometimes the forest belt prevented the wind blowing. Actually, sometimes the wind inside of the city, especially there may be some pollutant or something, cannot be clear away, and then the air pollution or the air quality will be a little bit. So that is some kind of controversy, maybe forests and also the pollutant and so on. So, thank you.
Okay. Anyway, thank you so much. We have two interesting examples from the ground. And Anna, yeah.
No, just, okay, I'm Anna Euler. I'm a researcher in Brazil. and I work for the last 30 years with communities. And we are always working with communities as a researchers, of course, trying to provide means to local and social development. But we are always demanding from them data to fulfill national reports, states reports, and so on. So how to translate, you see, national inventories, NDCs, to be able to bring back, concrete results of this, all of these discussions that we are having here, because sometimes there is this gap. It is important. Now, they are part of the solutions. We should foster engagement and cooperation, but it's so hard to bring back, the right and good impacts of this movement. So I would like to listen from the from the ones that are really dealing with this challenge of gathering and searching for all this data, to the ones that are practitioners and that make these links, how we can fulfill this gap. Thank you.
Great. I think in 1 minute each, but you all have experience with this, so go for it.
Thank you very much. Unfortunately, like my colleague, I didn't bring any slide. We have the institutional framework for MRV, and in there we have the communities having a special place there. But to get their perspective well, we've developed what we call community governance framework, where each community has reps on that framework as representation, and they are trained almost every time. And that's on one side. Maybe I can get some details later, one-on-one. And the other one is that as much as possible, anytime we are coming for these global discussions, we try to bring some of these community members here as well, so that they are aware of, if not even appreciating, they are aware that this is how the discussions are, the effect of whatever they are doing, how global that effect is, so that they get a global picture and can able to localize whatever they want to do. This year, for instance, we brought 2 of them. Last year, for instance, we had 4 of them. They did presentations from their perspective, and questions were asked of them and all that. So once they go back, they're able to also, because of the governance arrangement, to circle back to their community members for them to also ask questions. For us, ownership of the process by the community members is key. So that's basically how we have gone about it. Of course, there are nuances and details.
Ditto. Similar manner in Guyana, but so as being applied in Ghana. But what I'd like to add, in addition to that, is that we have trained some of the community representatives in some parts of the country to help us to be involved in the monitoring, reporting, and verification process. The data that they collect is uploaded into a cloud and is added to the national reporting system. They have been trained in the collection, in helping them to understand some aspects of the analysis. And as I mentioned, just like Ghana, they're participating in the whole process. As well, there's a multi-stakeholder steering committee, which is chaired by our president and includes representation of the indigenous peoples, inclusive of the chief of chiefs. And so they're part of the decision-making process and how the whole implementation of various aspects related to our reporting systems work. Oh, sorry, and maybe I just add one last thing. Yeah, maybe I just add one last thing as we speak about the circular thing. Guyana is also involved in marketing our forest carbon credits. And at least 15% of every dollar that we receive goes directly to the indigenous communities. They develop their own projects and they implement them. And so the whole process of, as we speak of the bioeconomy and the whole circular system, is also important as we, keep everything connected.
Great. Thank you so much. We're now at time, but I think that was a perfect illustration to connection between the bottom up and this national policy. And like I said, these are the stars. And so we're all watching you and learning from you. And I would just like to reiterate FAO's support to you as you move forward in your journey. We work very closely with Dirk and his team at the UNFCCC Secretariat. And so, count on us for anything you need. And and looking to you for inspiration. So thank you so much to all of you. A big round of applause for this stellar panel. And don't go away. In 10 minutes at 10:30, we're going to start the next session on realizing the potential of the forest-based bioeconomy through sustainable wood. Another great set of speakers, so stay around. Thank you.